Hey guys, Top here. Welcome to the Nova Group. Today we're talking about a very old-fashioned subject, backup iron sights. I know I'm the only one who still uses these, but I got a set of Magpul MBUS3 to try out to compare to the older MBUS and MBUS Pro, both of which I've used in the past. So, MBUS3, these were announced like 3 years ago at SHOT Show, and then they took a year to come out because Magpul was having some serious problems. These are plastic, spring-loaded backup iron sights, very similar to the classic MBUS, but they have some of the features of the MBUS Pro. So we're going to take a close look at these, a set of classic MBUS. I don't have a set of MBUS Pro anymore because they're expensive and I don't really like them, but I have used them. We'll talk about those as well. Oh yeah, let's shoot a gun. How's that for an intro?
Magpul MBUS3. Are they better or worse than classic Magpul MBUS? Yeah, probably both, which I assume is why they're both still in the catalog. The MBUS3 did not replace the original MBUS. There is no such thing as MBUS2 unless you're counting the MBUS Pros. Those seem so different, I feel like they shouldn't get the moniker 2. I think Pro is probably a lot more appropriate. Whatever. MBUS3s are spring-loaded and made out of polymer like the original MBUS, unlike MBUS Pros, which are metal and don't have a springy feature. They don't have a button for rapid deployment. Not that it really takes any more effort to just grab them and pull them up than it does to hit the button. MBUS3s have some of the same features as the MBUS Pros in the body design of the original MBUS. So, push the button on the main part of the body to flip up the MBUS3. On the original MBUS, you had to push these two little levers on the side in order to flip it up. Both of them, you just push them back down to get them flat again. The MBUS3 is a little bit shorter at the front than the original MBUS, so they both will, sit in a similar pick rail slot, but the original MBUS will protrude slightly farther forward. I thought this might help perhaps with scope mounting or magnifier mounting in front of a backup iron. Doesn't seem to help. It really is just a fraction of an inch, so let's go ahead and disregard that. However, the lower profile nature of the flat button sitting on top versus the buttons on the side can help. I know some people have said that if they mount a set of classic MBUS all the way to the rear in order to help get clearance for a scope mount or a magnifier, that little button can intrude into your access to the charging handle. Sure, yeah, I mean, maybe. Classic MBUS sights do have adjustment for windage on the rear. It's this little knob that you turn back and forth. Same thing on the MBUS3, although it's a little easier to turn and has a kind of a sharper click. So, I don't know, sharper, cleaner detent. You might find that to be kind of an upgrade. The other thing that MBUS3 have going for them is that the close range and long range apertures are easier to switch to. On the classic MBUS, you gotta pry this little insert knob thingy, because the long range insert is actually sort of a plug that fills a part of the hole rather than just this extra little aperture that rotates over. The other problem with that is that if you want to fold your MBUS down with the wide aperture deployed, now you've got the fucking narrow aperture sticking up, which can definitely intrude into the path of a flip magnifier or a scope. Not so much on the MBUS3. You can choose which one you want to have rapidly accessible when it's stored, and it stores completely flat. How about those front sights? Pretty much the same story. MBUS3 have the button on the front of the body to deploy them. MBUS Classics have those little tabs on the side. This is probably more of a big deal on, oh my god, I just broke the whole fucking thing. This is probably a bigger deal on the front of the gun. I've noticed a lot of the times that if you have, a weapon light mount that kind of tucks the light up nice and close to the rail, it could actually interfere with the buttons on the side of the MBUS. So you might put the whole gun together, think everything fits hella flush and is super nice and good to go, and then you try to deploy your front iron sight and realize that you can't move the levers down because they're running into your light mount. That's kind of a drag. The only other real change on the front is that the classic ones have to be adjusted with a front sight adjustment tool like you would an A2 front sight base or really anything else. It is included with a front sight base, I think. It might also just be included with a full set of classic MBUS. Either way, you have to stick the tool down in there and rotate it, or you can use a bullet tip or some other tool to depress the little plunger so you can rotate the front sight post, and that allows you to adjust fairly coarsely for elevation. The MBUS3s inherit a feature from the MBUS Pros, which is this little drum that you can just turn with your fingers in order to adjust the elevation. So which is better, classic MBUS or MBUS3? It kind of doesn't matter. The differences are really mostly trivial. The biggest complaint that I've seen people leverage against the MBUS3s so far is that the rear sight doesn't fit like parallel to the top rail when it's stowed. It kind of just sits a little bit up. You can see that, the spring could be compressed a little bit more to make it like truly flat, but it doesn't actually sit flat like the classic MBUS. That's not a real complaint, by the way. It doesn't stop people from making it, but yeah, who cares? It doesn't matter because the overall sight package is still lower profile than the original, so it's going to fit better under magnifiers and scopes. I recognize that most people in the firearms community are actually in the fashion community. They just don't want people to call them gay, so they bought guns instead of clothes and watches and stuff like that, but that doesn't change the fact that you're basing your decisions on life-saving equipment based on fashion instead of functionality. Of course, you're allowed to do that. In a lot of states in this country, the doctor will let you take medical-grade fentanyl until you fucking die. I'm just saying, get your arguments in order before you come at me about it. Price-wise, set of MBUS3 pretty close to a set of MBUS and about half the price of MBUS Pro, which are made out of metal and therefore significantly more expensive. I think backup iron sights, unless your scope really sucks, are not the sort of thing that you probably need to be spending $150 to $200 on, so I don't think MBUS Pro really makes a whole lot of sense. Notwithstanding the fact that maybe if instead of spending $150 on backup iron sights, you would put a little bit more money into your primary optic, then it wouldn't have failed in the first fucking place. For my money, the only substantial improvement on the MBUS3 is the fact that those little activation levers don't stick out to the side as far, and I'm going to agree with you that, yeah, they don't look as good as MBUS, but, MBUS have been around for like 15 years at this point, so maybe we're just used to them. I don't know, give it time. These things are an emergency quaternary method of aiming the rifle if all else fails and you're in a real bind. So don't overthink it, don't overspend. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.